let's get into Trump's report card here. Let's talk. I'm kidding about the beatings. That only happened like once or twice. Let's get into the accomplishments here. The pluses and minuses of Trump's first 100 days. I've got his accomplishments written down, and I'm not going to call them failures because he hasn't failed to do anything yet. But we're 100 days in, and it's like, okay, the clock is ticking. If we talk in a year and these things still haven't been completed, then maybe we might call them failures, right? So accomplishments, I've got illegal border crossings are essentially at zero. We covered this. There's a well-known shelter that illegal migrants would meet up at in San Diego. It closed its doors because it had no customers or residents, I guess you could say. There was no need for it. Border crossings are at an all-time low for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're shipping the really bad people down to El Salvador where we don't have to deal with them anymore and they can't reoffend. Number two, word is spreading that we're not the country to come into illegally anymore. If you want to go somewhere illegally, the United States of America is not the place to do it because we will send you back to where you came from. We're actually enforcing the border. And the worst thing about this border thing, by far the worst thing about this border thing, is that they haven't changed any laws, which means that Biden could have done this at any point in time. Any point in time. Biden's old boss, Barack Obama, did do this. He was known as the deporter-in-chief. Biden could have shut the border down at the illegal entry points and made people come into the country legally at any point in time, and he didn't do it because it's the Cloward-Piven strategy where they try to overflow the system in the United States, burn it to the ground, and rebuild it in their vision. That's what they do. He didn't do it. They had the authority and the ability and the resources to fix the crisis in less than 100 days, and they didn't do it. So that should tell you everything that you need to know about them. They kept saying, we need an act of Congress, we need an act of Congress, we need an act of Congress. They blamed Trump because that border bill got killed, that horrible border bill that had all this extra pork thrown in and wasteful spending and backdoor restrictions on other freedoms that had nothing to do with the border, and they threw Trump under the bus, or they blamed Trump, threw Congress under the bus, and look, the Republicans are the reasons we can't do it. Trump comes in, you get no piece of legislation passed, and he fixes it in less than a month. They could have fixed it at any point in time. That was willful negligence on the Biden administration's part right there. Also, notice how we've stopped hearing about the so-called Maryland man that was deported. Well, as it turns out, his current wife or girlfriend or whatever she is, her baby daddy, ex-husband, in a custody dispute, filed a note to the court saying that her current boyfriend is a known gang member and the kids aren't safe around him. Now, that's what he claimed. That's not a definitive fact, but given that and the tattoo that she goes out of her way to cover up in Instagram photos and some of the other connections this guy has, one might be able to make the reasonable argument that they got this one wrong. This is called the drive-by news story. This is what they do. They just throw as much shit on the wall to see as they can to see what sticks. It's a drive-by because they hit you with as many as they can, as quickly as they can, and they see what sticks. They thought this Maryland man thing was going to stick. Oops, looks like we might have gotten that one wrong. So now they pivoted over. They said, oh my God, did you hear that the Trump administration deported this 2-year-old girl? These monsters. Can you believe they deported this 2-year-old girl? Well, they deported the 2-year-old girl because both of her parents were in the country illegally and they got deported. Let me ask you, Mia, what do you think would be better if they just left the 2-year-old girl here? Well, what were they going to do with her? Leave her? They could leave her in Shree's lab with the dogs over there.
Just leave her to fend for herself.
Yeah, you better get a job. You better figure it out. No, and if they didn't deport her and they put her into the foster care system, which is what the Biden administration was doing when you had all these missing kids, we still don't know where a third of them are, probably in some human trafficking scheme, if you want me to be completely honest. They would have been screaming about humanitarian rights. Oh my God, can you believe this negligent administration lost this poor little girl? She's probably being sold into sex trafficking. These monsters. No, they sent her back with the parents, which is the right thing to do. Now, she was supposedly being treated for cancer. I don't know if that's the case or not. If that was the case and her parents were here for medical tourism, there's a proper channel to go through that with. If they didn't do it, that's on them. That's their own negligence that caused that. Again, this is what I'm talking about. This is the kind of we said this about the Kilmar Abrego Garcia thing. When people skirt the rules, because we have to know who's coming into this country. I'm sorry, we have to know. Otherwise, we turn into Europe, where it's being burned to the ground and you have rape gangs going around terrorizing people, and you go to jail if you report them. So we have to know who's coming into the country. And when people skirt by the rules and they're irresponsible and they're lazy or whatever the case may be, and they don't do everything they're supposed to, there is a domino effect. More people are hurt than just them. Their families are left in shambles because mom and dad didn't do the right thing. Mom and dad didn't follow the process like everybody else who comes into the country legally. They could have come here and gotten that treatment for her. They absolutely could have. I have no problem with that. From just a human and a Christian perspective, I have no problem if people want to come here to get medical care for their sick kids. But we have to know who's coming into the country, because the reality is, just like the terrorists over in the Middle East know that children are pretty much off limits, these drug cartels and these human traffickers and these gang members, they also know that we're less likely to fuck with kids. So they will come in, pretend to be the parents, use some excuse like that, and then operate their business illegally. So I have no problem if people want to come here to treat their kid for cancer. But we have to know who you are. We have to have screened who you are before you come into the country. Trade accomplishments. Not a lot in the trade, but we're going to put this as an accomplishment here. Apple announced that they plan to shift the assembly of iPhones destined for the U.S. market from China to India by the end of 2026. Huge blow to China. This is billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars that are going to be leaving their economy. And while India we're a little bit wishy-washy with, it's not near as bad as China. This is a massive win for the United States. I don't think the cost is going to go up all that much, if any. This is a big win for us. We get to keep the prices down and not fund an enemy of the country that wants to destroy the United States as we know it, that's actively engaging in a shadow war against us. So that's a massive win there. Another massive win is RFK has made some progress in terms of getting rid of the poison in what we eat. A lot of these red dyes are going to be banned. He's getting snack foods and soda off of food stamps. And just last week, Pepsi announced that it'll be removing all artificial ingredients from our food. All artificial ingredients. And this is before any mandates went into place. So here's the disturbing part about this to me. Pepsi knew this stuff was bad, and they always had the ability to remove it from the food and beverages, but they didn't do it. Someone just had to come in and say, hey, can you guys not do that? And that was all it took, and nobody even bothered. The politicians have just such an active disdain for us, such a just hatred, or at the very best case scenario, lack of fucks they give about us, that they allow this to go on. Nobody even thought to say, hey, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, could you not poison people by chance? You ever consider that? Just please, kind of like gentleman's agreement. Stop giving the population cancer and diabetes. Oh, well, you put it like that. I didn't realize we were doing anything wrong. Okay, yeah. That's all it took. Nobody ever even bothered to ask them. The mandate hasn't even gone into place. The next one I'll kind of put as a win. The JFK files sort of got released. It was convoluted and long. It was way after they initially said it was going to get released. We still haven't seen the RFK shooting files, the RFK senior shooting files. I'll kind of put this as a win. This is probably the only thing Pam Bondi has done right. We're going to get into her in a little bit. I guess we can call that one a win. The trueflation rate, which is the inflation rate that's nonpartisan, it doesn't allow either administration to manipulate the data to their liking, has plummeted to 1.57%. The inflation rate in this country is half of what it was when Trump took office, way lower than it was under Biden. I mean, about an eighth of what it was under Biden. So that's a massive win. You've got egg prices are now cheaper than when he took office. We're finally getting over this bird flu thing, and the Biden administration deciding to kill 100 million chickens right before they left office. Totally not sabotage there. Totally not. They tried this broad net approach. Here's my thing. They announced they were going to kill 100 million chickens to try to quell the bird flu. How did they pick the chickens? How did they even know it was going to be efficient? There's no way that this was intended to, there's no way they thought even for a split second that this was actually going to fight the bird flu. This was about sabotaging the next guy and giving their people a talking point about egg prices for a couple of months to hit him with. And then you notice the second that egg prices went down, when's the last time you've heard about egg prices other than on this show? But I keep reminding you of it because I don't let them control the narrative. Gas prices are also down. And while they haven't plummeted to the degree that egg prices have, when you consider inflation and everything, gas prices are about 10 cents lower than when he took office. So that's another win right there. So there's your accomplishments. The things I've got is to be determined. We still need to get this Ukraine-Russia thing set up. And I told you before the election, I told you after the election, and I told you after he took office, and then I told you again a couple of weeks ago. And I've told you every time this issue pops up in the news, he was setting himself up for failure by saying that he would have the deal done on Russia and Ukraine on day one. I told you he was setting himself up for failure. He was giving his opponent ammunition. Nobody expected you to have it done on day one. You made that promise. You walked into that trap. So that was his own fault there. The TikTok deal, that's chickens are coming to roost on that. I know they're talking about extending the moratorium on it, but we need to figure it out, man. There's going to be a lot of angry Zoomers if TikTok goes away right before the midterms. They will not forget it. Okay. Israel, Palestine. Again, we've had like 3 or 4 agreements on temporary ceasefires, and then both sides just start shooting at each other. I'm, as you all know where I stand on that, I'm of the mindset we should just leave it alone. You know, I saw a video on a Ring camera of 2 porch pirates fighting each other over an Amazon package. And when people ask me how I feel on Israel, Palestine, I just send them that video. I don't give a damn. Let them figure it out for themselves, you know? But okay. Yeah, I mean, that's not an option. He wants to get this worked out, and I understand why he wants to get it worked out from both a personal legacy perspective and a global geopolitical perspective. So you're going to make that promise. You need to actually get it done. That's not a promise I would have made, given how volatile that situation is. I would not have promised to close that Gaza deal out. I would have said, I'll do what I can. We'll put pressure on both sides. But as we know, that is a volatile part of the world. I always love when we hear about this, you know, the pro-Palestinian protesters, they'll go on and they'll say, oh, we need a ceasefire in Gaza now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. You guys, I'm saying this as a neutral party who really doesn't give a damn about that situation all that much. They had a ceasefire on October 6th. And Palestine broke it. So there was a ceasefire, courtesy of Donald Trump, in his first administration up until October 6th. And Palestine, Hamas, whatever you want to call them, they're the ones that violated it. On the day I got married, and then I'm on a plane finding out that terrorists are threatening to attack the United States and all. I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm in Denver on a layover because we're going to our honeymoon. We're on a layover going to California. And I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, how many Arabs are boarding my flight? And how many of them could I take if they have box cutters? Like, that's what's going through my mind right now, you know? Side note, Hamas will never attack the United States. I'm not saying some crazy radical won't do something stupid because he got radicalized on Instagram or whatever. Hamas as an organization will never sponsor a terrorist attack against the United States because they know the second they do, it is over. Specifically with Donald Trump as president. We're not going to do anything, but Donald Trump will say, okay, Israel, the leash is off. Turn the whole fucking country to glass. I don't want anything left standing. I want every last camel in Gaza to be fried in a nuclear fallout. Kill them all. I don't care. So they'll never do that. They may talk shit. They may make threats, but out of self-preservation, they will never attack the United States because the second they do, Donald Trump will turn Israel loose on them like a nut job pit bull, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the show. Tariffs, we'll see. I'm hearing a lot about all these deals, and that's why it's hard to judge anyone on their first 100 days, especially when we know that a lot of this stuff is going to take more than 100 days to accomplish and see the full effects of, whether they're positive or negative. I don't know. I'm putting tariffs in the question mark. Now, this last one here, there's no excuse. This is a failure. Even if we get it tomorrow, this is a failure, is the Epstein files. This is a disgrace, the way this administration has gone about the Epstein files. Kash Patel told us day one when he took over at the FBI, we were going to get those files. Again, totally unrealistic. There were minor victims, people whose identities needed to be protected. Thousands of pages. You were going to have to redact certain parts of that, not to cover up any type of conspiracy, but to protect the identity of certain victims. So never in a million years were they going to get the Epstein files on day one. Again, stupid, over-exaggerative promises that people can easily turn against you, just politically inept, in my opinion. But the way Pam Bondi has milked this situation for online clout is disgraceful. It is disgusting. Remember when she's like, all right, we got the Epstein files. Then she made a big spectacle out of it, which she's done a lot. She goes on Fox News. Oh, I got another announcement. Oh, there's some people that are going to be real upset. You better tune in tomorrow at 9 a.m. Like they're trying to generate clicks to their Twitter pages. It's so gross. And it's about like human traffickers and drug dealers. And the worst of the worst, they're turning it into a game show. So this has been a massive failure, the way they've gone about this. Like I said, even if we get these tomorrow, I'm still going to be upset. To bring all these Twitter influencers in and give them binders that say Epstein files and tell them to slow roll it to their audiences in phases is just gross, given the gravity of that situation. That is a failure. That is something they should all be ashamed of.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, be sure to click the link in the description to get the full episode on Rumble. If you prefer to listen along, you can actually get us on Spotify, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. You can also go to www.outlawstreamers.com to learn more about not just my show, but tons of other great shows and all the exciting projects they have coming up. Follow my socials at Caleb Isn't Funny on Twitter and Instagram, at Caleb Salvatore Comedy on the Chinese spy app that is TikTok, and be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks, and we'll see you every Saturday for brand new episodes of That's Based. Peace.